Mute yourself.
You mean like that?
Yeah. I don't see it on the screen down here. There he is. It's official.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is going to be
Yes, it is. Now we can start the show. This is, what is it? This is the Sports Porch Black and Gold Edition. We are live. Yes, we are live all over the world, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X, and now we are live on Instagram, now that I just clicked the button.
Yippee-ki-yay.
And we do drop the podcast right after the show. We drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. That's right, ladies. And we're going to have a little discussion about the Pirates tonight. What do you guys think?
A little one.
No. No?
No.
All right, maybe not. I keep getting an echo here, and I'm not sure why. Somebody's camera is on. Something is on.
Looks like Steve and I are in good shape.
I'm good.
Are you okay?
Yeah, now we are.
Are you good?
Steve fixed it. Thank you very much.
You have to double mute on these things.
There you go.
You got a double mute.
Double mute. All right.
Double mute.
We're just too loud and proud.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Listen, it is, look, we are going to talk football. So we're going to talk about the Steelers. The season is coming up in essentially 2 weeks. Call it a week and a half, whatever you want. 2 weeks, right? When's the first game?
2 weeks minus 1 day.
Whatever. So, and the first game is Schwaber's beloved Eagles down in Brazil. Yeah. And did you know that when you throw the ball below the equator, it spins in the opposite direction?
I did know
we
that.
Discussed that.
I heard in order to make it spin the right way, Jalen Hurts was going to throw it left-handed.
Yeah. Ooh. Yes. They would probably win a lot more.
All I want to know is Shakira playing at halftime?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I would like
you guys weren't getting the green thing.
Yeah. What was the green thing?
So the deal is like the soccer team, the football team that plays in Brazil has a rival team, and that rival team is green. So they don't allow them to wear their green jerseys when they're playing in their home stadium. And I guess the home stadium for where they're playing is called the Corinthians.
Okay.
And I forget the other team's name, whatever their team name is. Anyway, they play green, so they have this unofficial ban on green wear. So even if you're a fan, you can't wear your green Eagles jersey. You can't wear your green Bay jersey. I don't know what colors they're going to wear. And why did the NFL pick two green teams to play? I think there are other colors in the NFL.
There's an intern out there somewhere going like, I just thought it would be fun to play in Brazil.
The problem is the NFL isn't culturally they're misappropriating the color green.
There you go.
They should have been on top of that with all their DEI
I think we should ban green, to be honest with you. I think it's a horrible color. It's horrible.
I actually like the Kelly green personally.
Yeah. Like, why do they call it Kelly green? Because it's Irish?
Just what it's called.
Can we get to that?
That's just the name of the color. You have to just get used to it.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about the Steelers. We're going to talk about the Buccos, of course. We're going to do that first because I think they've just completely gone off the reservation now. And
they were before they won 3 out of 4 from the Reds.
Well, who the hell cares? We got HJ in the house across from me in the studio. We got the Grand Schwabini to my right, which means I'm going to flip the switch on this because I like when the screen looks like I'm looking at him, because I am looking at him. And then, of course, I'm your technical director. We got what we're watching. We've got the Trader Joe's snack time, a little different this week. And we are going to stump the Yinzer. I have a question for the Yinzer. I'll give you.
Well, he's the Yinzer.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's right. He won last week.
He won.
So we're going to try to stump. I might actually stump this Yinzer.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because I picked the question I thought you could answer.
Yinzer of the week.
You might actually be able to answer this one. You might.
He is Yinzer of the week.
So let's and I did just drop a comment. Mike Lawrence is in the house. Thanks, Mike. Speaking of green, how about Georgia Tech beating FSU in Dublin, Ireland?
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
No, it is. Don't you find it interesting that now NCAA football is trying to go overseas? Like, it doesn't seem like it makes much sense. But
it doesn't, because it's not like their colleges are going to make a football team.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I just think it's the NFL taking over the world.
Yeah, I do. But FSU wasn't supposed to win that game, were they?
No, they were. They were like ranked 10.
Yeah.
And they got They lost on a last-second field goal.
Now,
so,
this is I believe Don is chiming in here on Facebook. This is a Pirates-related comment about Shelty, and I want to get to that.
It.
Don says, funny, how can he stand in front of people and lie to their faces? If I'm correct here, what he's referring to is the fact that just before the show today, I was driving home. I was coming home from downtown, and I heard that about an hour before, the Pirates had announced that O'Neal Cruz is now going to play center field. So,
well, because I guess they're cutting ties with Michael A. Tate.
Well, yeah, they did release him, but that's not. So the point that I think Don is making, what he's bringing up, is that just about 7 or 8 days ago, they interviewed Shelty was on an interview on a show, and they questioned Cruz at shortstop, and Shelton basically said, well, he's a shortstop, he's played there all his life, and blah blah blah.
Right,
he's a shortstop,
Mm-hmm.
And now 8 days later, he's center field. Now, here's the thing: there was a caller on the Fan.
By the way, O'Neal Cruz is DHing.
Yeah, he's going to DH. He's DHing for 2 or 3 games while he learns how to play center field. Okay. Have they gone fucking crazy? Have they gone crazy? I mean, honest to God, the kid, when they drafted him, he was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He has never played any position other than shortstop in the entire organization. This guy that called in made a great point. When they drafted him, he was like 6'3". Did you hear the comment? Were you listening?
No, but I'm really enjoying the angst.
Thank you. When they drafted him, he was 6'3". By the time, he grew like 4 more inches. He would have been he was the tallest guy to ever play shortstop. He's never played any other position. He played, I think, 1 game 2 years ago in left field, and then some other games I think he played in right, like 2 games or something. It might have been spring training or down in AA or AAA, something like that.
Right.
This is what we get. This is what we get. Oh, he sucks as a shortstop. Now we're going to put him in center field because he's so important. Look, I'm sorry, guys. O'Neal Cruz is not going to be a great baseball player. He's not. He's not a good shortstop. I said this last year.
He is a good shortstop.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
He's in the bottom 5 in statistical categories and errors in the league. He is one of the worst shortstops in the league. He's not a good shortstop.
You're just talking fielding.
Yes, fielding.
Yeah, he's not talking about the full position.
His base running is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. And putting him in center field is not the answer. I am off the O'Neal Cruz bandwagon. I was never on it fully to begin with. You guys know that. And to make this kind of change right now is ridiculous. It's indicative of the fact that the organization knows it has absolutely nobody coming into this team that is going to matter at all. Joey Bart goes on the IL. They bring Henry Davis back. Why? Because he's the only other guy they can bring back.
Yeah, because Sanchez is also hurt.
Right. Rodriguez.
Oh, Rodriguez.
Right. Rodriguez is also hurt.
Yeah.
It is turning into a comedy. It's a comedy.
Dude,
the Pirates.
Dude, there's one word, a couple words that you said there that were unnecessary. You said turning into a comedy. This has always been a comedy.
Well, true.
This team has always been about the entertainment value. This team has done this year after year after year. Last year, they did it with Henry Davis.
Right.
They brought him up, and where did they play him immediately?
Left field, right field.
They threw him in the right field. They had an injury. They had an injury at catcher to Indy Rodriguez. They brought him up. They were like, finally, they're going to have to play their number 1 overall pick as a catcher, and they immediately put him in the right field. This is the Pirates being the real Pirates.
Right. That's exactly right.
And Don, listen closely. They will lie to you. They will lie to your face.
Yes.
They will tell you that everything's fine, and then they will immediately begin to implode the team from within.
Yes.
They don't even have to do it externally. They don't even have to wait for injuries.
Yeah.
They just do it themselves. They're like, okay, time to blow this team up so we can shut Skeens down and then save his arm for next year.
Right.
This is exactly what the Pirates do.
Yep.
They do it every year. So you can't be surprised that they're doing it again this year. Oh, and why are they doing it now? Well, because all the kiddos are back in school. So what was the attendance yesterday at the ballpark? Like maybe 10,000.
Yeah.
There were probably 5,000 Cincinnati fans there. So this is the mantra for the Pirates. It has been for decades. If you want to get upset now, you're welcome on my bandwagon, because I've been here since 1993.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been here since Nutting built the Pittsburgh fans out of billions of dollars for that new stadium, which is absolutely freaking gorgeous. But guess what he did to get it? He lied. He said, we'll spend to the cap. We'll be competitive on the field.
True.
And they have never been that way. So that's my rant on the Pirates. Welcome to the team. I hope everybody gets angry and nobody attends any more games.
There you go. Hey, not enough said. Chris Chata joins us on Instagram. He says, and again, this is going to, no offense to you, official Chris Chata, this is going to be a meaningless question for Steve. Would you say Shelton's career arc in Pittsburgh is similar to Clint Hurdle, above average a few years, ultimately regressing to the point of being fired?
Actually, Hurdle did a much better job.
I think he
because
did.
he actually tried to coach the team.
Yeah.
Shelton never tried to coach this team.
Yeah.
He thought he was in charge. Now he recognizes he's not in charge.
Yeah.
He'll probably be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they may not want to pay him 2 more years of salary, but they cut Hurdle when he had a salary.
Yeah.
So they're okay with paying managers, even though they're not coaching.
Yeah.
By the way, Mike Lawrence is asking, will Skeens ask for or demand a trade? Can he? Well, yeah, of course he can, but he probably won't.
Not this
just
year.
Because he's been struggling a little bit. So I think he's got to figure out some things playing a full season next year. I think after next year, he wins 15, 16 games, then maybe the year after is Mike when, in between the next season and I guess that'd be 25, 26. He might be looking for a trade then.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't.
Pirates want to trade him anyways, Mike, because that's how they perpetuate the so-called con.
Yeah. And you have to wonder, have you ever seen a team hold a fan base hostage better than the Pittsburgh Pirates?
They're brilliant at it.
Seriously.
People get confused and excited about when they get a good player, and then they get confused when they get bad again. I've never been confused about this team. It's always been about the money. It's always been about Nutting, getting as many fans in the seats when he can.
Yep.
Making it sound like they're going to be competitive, and they are. They still are, because of that wild card. By the way,
semi-competitive.
The wild card makes a lot of more teams that aren't competitive look competitive.
Right.
That's exactly what he wants.
Yes.
Exactly what he wants.
Yes. He's evil.
Yeah.
He is. I agree.
But I mean, let's face it. You have to spend like the Philadelphia Phillies, $400 million on a payroll to buy a team, and then even then, you're not afforded the World Series.
Or you have to take your farm system, rip it out upside down, like the Orioles, who are not going to be able to hold on to all of these players, but they have them under control for a couple years.
True.
But that takes a lot of effort and also a lot of money.
Well, and actually baseball people picking good players.
Right.
Which the Pirates don't.
And you have to pay them. You have to pay them.
Yeah.
Even at the lower level, you got to pay to get what you pay for. And
I think the Orioles are probably an interesting study for the Pirates if they wanted to be like somebody, because their payroll isn't very high right now.
No, it's in the bottom 5 in the league.
And it's still not going to be that high next year.
No, but they're going to have some decisions to make.
Yeah.
And the proof will be in the pudding when it comes time to re-sign a couple of these guys, and they're going to want mega deals. How much money are the Orioles willing to spend? But this is a Pirates show. So
yeah, that's true though. But I mean, that's the same thing the Pirates will have to do with Skeens.
Yeah, but that's one player, and they're not going to do that. They're going to let him ride. They're going to ride it out. The talk was shutting him down and getting another year of control out of him.
They did it with Brian Reynolds, and he seems to be okay.
Yeah, but Brian Reynolds isn't Bryce Harper. Do you know what I mean? Reynolds.
He is for the Pirates.
But I'm just saying, there is nobody out there.
He almost has an 800 OPS.
Let's let Schwaber chime in on this. Do you think there are any teams out there near the trade deadline that are inquiring about Brian Reynolds? I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think anybody wants Brian Reynolds because there's 100 Brian Reynolds in the league.
Well, only because teams know that the Pirates will get rid of players. So I would say, teams probably were at.
Yeah, and he's still affordable. I mean, his salary isn't crazy.
No. No,
Right.
it's not crazy, but I just don't. They were talking about.
Trust me, he'll be a guy who will go probably
yeah.
before Skeens.
Oh yeah, I would put his timing on him going next year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because then now they're halfway through the contract. So
yeah, unless of course they're still in it at this time next year,
which is always a possibility.
Right.
I mean, it is because
he should have gone this year, like I said.
Yeah,
right.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but they didn't, and this is what the Pirates do. They trick you. Oh, they didn't make any moves. They didn't dump anybody at the trade deadline. They must be serious. And then what do? Take their starting shortstop and make him a center fielder.
Yeah, and
4 weeks later.
Look, if you want some really good comedic entertainment, watch Cruz play center field for the first time. I mean, I
still have doubts that they're going to put him in center field.
That's what they said. They announced it.
But let's face it. Yeah. When you were in Little League and there was a kid that could hit but could not play anywhere, he played one of two positions: catcher or right field.
Right. Yeah. Ultimately, maybe they do move him over to right field. But the point I'm making is that
would actually make sense with his arm.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
Well,
he could be the next Roberto Clemente.
Yeah. Sure, he could. Yeah. I mean, he can throw it really fast.
I'm just speaking for nutting.
I know you are. So there you have it. I mean, it's once again, and Steve's been saying this for years.
Yeah.
And
just
he knows,
stick with me, people. Come back. If you're having problems with thinking the Pirates are a real baseball team, I will give you the truth.
There you go. And I'm proud to say that I think both Schwaber and I were there the moment that it was the tipping point and things started to go downhill when Sid Bream rounded third base. That was the night that Steve decided, I'm not sure this is going to work anymore.
Well, I mean,
in all seriousness,
I held on hope for a little.
You are discounting. They did have like a nice 3-year run with McCutchen and Garrett Cole.
That was I honestly believe that was luck. Okay, and I think that AJ Burnett at that point was actually washed up, and he made a miracle comeback. I think he was injured.
Well, him and Russell Martin that came to the team together really brought a culture of, hey guys, we can win. And people rallied around those two guys.
Yeah.
Name those guys on this team now.
Yeah. Nobody.
They don't exist. And they're not going to go get them.
Yeah.
And unless they go get a Russell Martin and AJ Burnett, this team is going to struggle with trying to find its own identity, especially when a so-called future leader like O'Neal Cruz is now being plucked out of the position he played his entire life and thrown in the outfield to drown.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work out that well. Pat on Track is with us. He says that team gave up when they let Andy Van Slyke go.
No, that was Barry Bonds.
Right.
Van Slyke
right.
Good.
Let's talk about
kept Andy Vance like over Bonds.
Yeah, let's talk about talk about Barry Bonds for a minute. Now that here, hold on.
What, he's in the Pirates Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Marvin Hamilton says, "Do you think the Pirates will ever become a championship team?" I mean, it's possible in 2063.
Yeah, I mean, if they get new ownership that's willing to pay $250 million,
or more.
Sure, yeah. That's all it really takes anymore for baseball.
Yeah,
you just need some good players, a half decent farm system, and $250 million in payroll.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Then you're in.
Yeah, I don't undercurrent ownership. No,
undercurrent ownership, never.
Absolutely not.
Never.
Absolutely not.
No.
So Barry Bonds, Pirates Hall of Fame. Did you hear any of his speech? Which, by the way, he didn't write anything down. He just right off the hip. Did you hear any of it?
I heard he said something like he doesn't even think about getting into the real Hall of Fame anymore.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part of it. What I heard was him just basically say, I always talked about wanting to play in San Francisco because that's where my dad played and that's where my godfather played. And, it ended up I couldn't. And he was originally drafted by San Francisco.
Right.
But then he ended up getting drafted again by the Pirates because he stayed in college.
Yeah, he didn't want to come to the majors at that time. He was too young.
Right. And so then he basically said, Pittsburgh is where my heart is. And, I played here. They gave me my start. I met a guy, Jim Leland.
Yeah.
And he just basically really talked up his time here. And then he credited his mom. And I thought it was Barry Bonds. It was humble. It wasn't that attitude that he always had when he was here. But here's the interesting things that I heard about him, and I want to talk about Hall of Fame because I am still, this guy belongs in the Hall of Fame.
No, I'm with you 100%. You don't have to convince me. It's the guy over there.
Is it John Wayner? Is it John Wayner or Bob Wayner? I can't remember the guy's first name. John Wayner or Bob Wayner?
The third baseman?
Yeah, the former guy. He played with Bonds, and now he's John Wayner. I listened to him on the after game show after the Pirates game the other night when I was coming home from work. And they were in, and the fan guy was asking him, you played with Bonds, tell me about him. And of course, he's got nothing good to say about Bonds now. Mm-hmm. But one thing that struck me that he said that I thought, and I think I told you this, that I thought was incredible, is he said that in the off season, Barry stayed in Pittsburgh. He didn't leave, and he would work out. And that when spring training started and other guys were taking batting practice, he said that he never saw Barry Bonds ever take batting practice. He said the guy didn't even have to
practice
and he could
his swing
hit that well. Okay, look, steroids aside, that didn't help him learn to be a hitter. And he also said that Bonds wasn't that tiny little, stick figure when he left Pittsburgh,
right?
That he had been working out and not doing steroids, the entire time. And he was starting to get much bigger. I'm not saying or suggesting that Barry Bonds didn't use performance enhancing substances. We all know he did, but so did everybody else. I'm just saying that when I heard Wayner say this guy never took batting practice, that blew my mind. I mean, come on, Schwaber. Yeah. You don't think this guy belongs in the actual Hall of Fame?
Well, I think you either put everybody in or you put nobody in.
Right. That's the point.
I think that's the point.
And I agree. Everybody should be in.
I think you
Major League Baseball turned the other way when it was happening because they were thrilled with what was going on. Right. It was the height of baseball. They absolutely knew what was going on. They could have either done something about it then. Instead, they rode the wave, and now they're throwing these guys on the crashing wave on the beach with broken surfboards. And it's ridiculous what Major League Baseball is doing.
I think what you do is you let them in, because, I mean, all these guys really were Hall of Famers before the steroid boom.
Yeah.
So you put them all in. But I do think one thing that you do is, you have some way of expressing that the records really don't count. Like nobody, like everybody knows, like Barry Bonds couldn't hit 73 home runs.
You just make it the era, just like you do with everything else, like the dead ball era, the steroid era. That's just and I don't even know what you call this era today.
I think Bonds could have hit 73 home runs. I mean, he was hitting 30 and 40 home runs before he started doing steroids. Who's to say?
He could have easily.
You think Aaron Judge isn't doing anything funky? You see how big that guy is?
He's already been big. He's just a big dude.
We already know what Ohtani has been.
Yeah, he's
and they're not. Once again, it's this will be called the betting era.
Yeah,
you watch.
Yeah.
They're going to find out all this stuff is going on.
The betting era. You're absolutely right.
And it's just impossible to control it.
Pat has gone way off track.
Here's Pat. Strangely enough, in college, I referred to Mark as the clear and Chris as the cream. That's what Bonds said he used. He said he didn't know it was steroids. His trainers referred to one substance as clear and the other substance as cream.
Yeah,
and they would tell him when to apply it to his body. So
Balco.
Pat was
That's
on
who
track.
he was with.
Okay.
Balco. Yeah, that was a great documentary.
That was a great documentary. Yeah. I think it was very clear about what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All you have to do is watch that.
And even that guy wouldn't throw Barry under the bus.
And here's the thing about Barry Bonds. The man was a great baseball player.
Best I ever saw.
Right?
Yep.
And everybody knows that about him. So the fact that the Pirates are finally acknowledging that, good for them, by the way. I think, I'm not a big fan of like Hall of Fames and stuff like that. But I think when a guy's not going to get into the Hall of Fame and you can do it locally, why not? I get it. He was an asshole to a lot of media and that he wasn't the nicest guy when he was here. I don't care. It's your job to interview these people. If they're not nice, too bad.
Right.
They're baseball players. They're not heroes.
Right.
They're not military guys, right? They're just there to play a game. And if you don't like it, you don't have to be a media guy. Somebody will take your space. So get out of the way. It's not about you. It's about the people on the field. So I'm happy to see that he finally did something. I'm glad that he made a speech that everybody liked. I didn't listen to it because, I've got things to do.
There you go.
And hockey season's right around
there
the
you go.
corner.
That's even more important.
But I'm thankful that Barry Bonds was here the years he was here, and he made this baseball team great. We need another Barry Bonds on this team.
Yeah, we don't have one. Pat says, I have to return my Brady Anderson bobblehead. 51 home runs as the leadoff hitter for the Orioles.
Yeah.
We all knew something was wrong.
He did a lot.
We all knew something was wrong.
He did a lot in his other seasons, didn't he?
Yeah, tons. Yeah. I got to tell you that when I was watching that, I remember those days watching it. Never occurred to me. Just because he didn't like bulk up like a lot of those other guys. He got big.
Right.
But I was just like, wow, we have the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. 51 home runs, and it still didn't matter. So
in the steroid era. See,
right.
That's all you have to do is just say it like that.
You are watching the Sports Porch podcast. If you're watching it live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and the Instagram. And right after the show, we're going to drop the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. The Wilson Fields experiment. Isn't that a group? Oh, no, that's Wilson Phillips.
I love them too.
Yeah, of course you do. The Wilson Fields experiment is official. What will the Steelers do? And why are we still talking about Brandon Ayuk? And who spelled that name wrong? Did you spell? Never mind. I don't want to go there.
Ayuk.
So this past game against Detroit, you know what I think is funny? Okay, this is what I think is funny, and I talked about this.
That you started watching the game at 4:00 in the afternoon.
No,
it was a 1:00 game.
No, I was working the whole 1 to 9. Anyway, so I texted you guys this. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks. What does preseason really mean?
Zero.
Okay, so now why is the fan talking about it?
As preseason being zero?
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden, we went off our other show. Then all of a sudden, all week long, the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
preseason really doesn't mean anything.
They're going off about it this week because the Steelers haven't won anything.
Yeah.
So they got to hide the Steelers suckish.
Yeah.
That's my word of the day.
Suckish.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory?
The Steelers suckish.
I think so.
In their programming. Yeah.
Look, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care that we have a tiny show right now. We're going to be huge someday. And I'm telling you right now, people are listening, people are watching, and they're taking our content and they're reusing it for themselves. And that's flattering.
They should.
I have nothing against that.
It's great content.
But I actually think it's great. And we've heard it, we've seen it on a number of occasions, not just one. We've seen it here and there where we've had somewhat of a discussion that nobody else is having. And then all of a sudden what was the one, the article? What was the article? Remember the article? I said, are the Steelers Penguins?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is Pittsburgh
on Trib Live?
Yeah.
There was an article about this is the worst time in Pittsburgh sports history.
Right after I said it, right after we had a discussion, I brought up the topic. We all had a discussion, and then boom, 2 days after that, there's an entire article in the Trib.
Maybe you're reading their minds before they know it.
Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I'm that good. Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
I'm afraid for my safety.
Yeah, you should be.
You know what?
I know you are every time you come here.
Mark, just wear tin foil underneath a hat. You'll be fine.
Everything will be protected.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And the
tin foil hats,
the scary
everyone.
thing is you guys both think that's true.
Yes, we do.
I've worn them before. I know it works.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So, all right. So Ayuk, Ayuk is never going to be a Steeler. He is not going to be a Steeler.
Well,
it is not going to happen.
According to some people on the internet who must like clickbait,
yeah,
we'll know tomorrow.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We'll know tomorrow.
And it's been that way for 3 weeks. That's why we keep talking about it.
Tomorrow, I love you.
Stop,
tomorrow.
Stop.
Okay. Anyway.
Why are you
okay. Thank you.
Because we'll know tomorrow.
You'll
know tomorrow, Schwab.
It's the Brandon Ayuk story all over again.
I know. It's ridiculous.
He just needs to make a decision. That's the thing. I think he likes the upplay. I don't know. I think with the CD Lamb signing, I think he just wants to get in now.
Yeah.
Everybody get in. I don't know what's going to happen with Chase, by the way.
Jamar?
Yeah.
Why? What's going on?
Well, I mean, they said he's practicing, but literally the guy is making peanuts right now.
Right. And he doesn't want to.
No. And literally, like, if he sat out the 10 games, you know how much money he would lose?
Not much.
Like $700,000.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's nothing to him.
Right.
He's going to sign the $25 million contract.
Yeah.
If I was him, I would just sit out the first 10 games.
That's dangerous, though. I mean,
why?
Yeah.
He can get out of the contract and he can get the hell out of Cincinnati, where they're never going to make it back to the Super Bowl ever again. I told you that the year after they were in it, and now it's all coming true. Yeah. So just stick with me here. I believe that that's what should happen, but maybe Jamar Chase is more of a football player than I'm giving him credit for.
I actually think he is. Mike Lawrence he can't wait for our Trader Joe's segment. Steelers suckish with chicken wings and honey sauce.
That sounds really good.
Back to this Ayuk thing. I actually don't blame the Steelers for this. I blame the media for this because
there's
really
a lot of that.
Yeah, if you think about it, Ayuk has not. Look, he looks like he's pretty good. He torched the Steelers in the first game of the year last year.
I still wonder if he's actually that good.
That's where I'm going.
Without being the fourth option.
Right.
Well, I can tell you that I'll be covering this in what we're watching.
Okay, awesome. That's pretty good.
Receiver.
Yeah. Yep. So he's not going to be a Steeler. I blame the media for this. They're perpetuating something.
I think you're right. I think the media has perpetuated something that normally would just be like, look, there are a couple contracts out there. Let's let the guy make a decision and it'll be done with. He'd be crazy to come here at this point in time.
Pat starts off on the right track. And then he just hops, track. Right. The Ayuk story to Pittsburgh was posted on my fantasy football thread. That guy was lambasted. Now we're worried about him being a catfishing victim. Okay, well.
Where's Neve?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, whatever.
I don't know where you go with that.
Sometimes Pat gets us off track.
Right.
I mean, especially when he says catfishing. Yeah. Like my mind just has gone in 12 different directions.
What was he drinking in Florida? What did he have, like 18 of? Whiskey and Cokes or gin and tonics? Or what did he wake up drinking? Beer. I think it was beer.
Yeah, beer.
Put that whiskey down. Anyway.
Put the whiskey down, Pat.
The Russell Wilson,
He's just gearing up for his fantasy football.
The Russell Wilson, Justin Fields experiment is beginning. And this is something we were talking about. You said before the show, Schwaber, the entire national media, you know what? This whole thing has become a clickbait nightmare for real fans.
It is. There has never once been a dispute as to who the starter is.
Never.
No. Even though Tomlin is coy and says he's still in the pole position, and he's also said we're not going to make a decision until the end of this week.
It was just kind of stupid, but he's doing that for like competitive advantage.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he's just trying to keep Fields engaged because he feels like he needs to have him in case Russell Wilson gets injured or maybe throws 3 interceptions against Atlanta.
Right. And he wants Atlanta to prepare for 2 quarterbacks instead of 1.
Right. There's some of that too. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But look, I said last week that I was worried about the Steelers offense because they were dinking and dunking just like they did under Big Ken.
Yep.
I finally saw some things that I liked about the offense, and it happened in the first series. It was 3rd and 12, and Russell Wilson threw it 16 yards to Pickens. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see more of that. And Wilson did have to kind of wait. Look, both of these quarterbacks wait way too long to throw the damn ball.
They do.
And I don't mind if they're throwing short right away. That's fine with me. But when they're waiting 2 or 3 seconds and they're throwing it still behind the yard of scrimmage or 3 or 4 yards down, that's going to be the problem with this offense, in my opinion. But when I saw that, I like that. And I do like Cordarrelle Patterson. I think Jaylen Warren's not going to play the first 4 games. And I think he's going to fit in really nice in that second position. I think Najee's going to have a good year. I'm optimistic that between those two, when Warren gets healthy again, they're going to have a very good dynamic backfield, and they're going to need it because they're going to use them a lot.
Yeah,
Thunder and lightning.
I like Patterson. That. Patterson is like a special weapon. Mm-hmm. You know, he somehow never manages to crack
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, that's right. He never manages
like the Boy Scouts use
to crack. Here we go again.
Don't want to go down that road.
All right, okay. The hell with it then. So Chris Chada says, "What is up with Fields botching snaps? It's crazy how many times it's happened." Look, I got.
He's right about that.
He is right, and
that's just ridiculous.
I got to tell you, my feelings about Justin Fields I did not watch him play a lot in Chicago, but I didn't need to because he was always on national highlight films just because of who he was
and how many interceptions and fumbles he had that looked ridiculous.
So I'm going to tell you, Steelers Nation, just shut the hell up about Justin Fields right now. Yeah. What that kid really needs, in my opinion, is he needs to sit for a year behind a real quarterback. And like it or not, Russell Wilson is a real quarterback. Stephen A. Smith, screw you. You know, that rant was ridiculous. Another clickbait attempt because we got to get people to watch a video and I have to rant and say that Russell Wilson is horrible and he's not bringing his game. He's playing for his career in Pittsburgh and, you know, show emotion. Shut the hell up. Yeah. You know, look, he's the starter. He should be the starter. He wasn't that bad last year. His statistics were pretty good. He was benched the last 5 games where it's like fucking Groundhog Day around here because the coach didn't like him and the team was bad. And now he's on a team that is offensively doesn't have an identity and was terrible the last couple years. So who are you going to play? You're going to play the kid that for 2.5 years in Chicago, or was he 3 years in Chicago, looked horrible other than when he was running the ball? Or are you going to play Russell Wilson, who knows how to play quarterback? I mean, it's Russell Wilson. If you want Fields to be the quarterback for the future, he should sit a year. He should sit a year and learn how to play the position. You guys, anything at all?
No.
Anybody out there?
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you, but I wanted to look up because I think that Russell Wilson was drafted the same year Kirk Cousins was, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And I just wanted to look up, I was looking up their statistics. And honestly, Russell Wilson kills Kirk Cousins in statistics.
Yeah.
He's 1-0 in the playoffs, Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins, 0-1. 100. He started more games.
Wait a minute. He can't be 1-0 in the playoffs. Russell Wilson has played a ton of playoff games.
Well, then Stathead is steering me wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very,
because he won a Super Bowl, so he's at least 4-0.
Oh, yeah. One championship, 8 Pro Bowls versus Kirk Cousins 4, 1 All-Pro versus Kirk Cousins 0. These are fantasy points.
Here we go. You keep looking that
334
up.
pass touchdowns versus 270 for Kirk Cousins. It's not even close.
Right.
And I get it. Most of his stuff has been in the past and in his glory years, and he's not like that anymore. But nobody thinks Kirk Cousins is washed up. Why does everybody think Russell Wilson is washed up?
You got it.
He's not washed up. He's just not a phenom like, take your quarterback, CJ. He's no longer a CJ Stroud.
That's exactly right.
He's not a Patrick Mahomes anymore.
No.
But he's still a damn good quarterback.
Absolutely.
He's much better than Big Ken.
Yeah.
Do I think that means that the Steelers quarterback position is rock solid? Absolutely not. But I mean, for paying this guy $1 million for this year,
can't get any better than that.
Come on, people.
It really can't. It can't get any better than that.
It doesn't make any sense not to see what happens with him this year.
Yep.
And it's an upgrade over last year. And I think that's why I'm more optimistic about the offense. I know the offense has holes. I know the offense is not going to be, great. But will it be good enough with the defense that we have? I think it's going to be better than last year.
And Mike Lawrence,
by the way, that might not be reflected in the win-loss column because they're playing much tougher teams this year.
Mike Lawrence says, "Amen, Chris. Sean Payton treated Russell Wilson like crap, berated him publicly on the sidelines." Thank you. It's good to hear that.
Oh, by the way, it was head-to-head. That's why.
That's what I thought it was.
He beat him in the playoffs once.
Pat's taking a shot at you. What it was. Pat's taking a shot at you, HJ. He says, and I'm off track because you couldn't get the stats right.
I finally got it right, unlike you, Pat.
Yeah. Oh, my. All right. Anyway, so, I mean, I think it's just time for everybody to just relax and realize that Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback. He should be the starting quarterback. And for those people who call in these shows and those hosts who are like, Russell Wilson was terrible last year, he wasn't. He just wasn't. He was better than all of the quarterbacks on the Steelers roster combined.
Let's see what happens. I mean, it's really going to be very interesting from the very beginning when they play in Atlanta. That's going to be a bigger game than the Steelers want it to be, but it needs to be. It needs to be.
They have to win that game.
I agree.
yeah.
They have to, because Atlanta's looked at a team who might be up and coming, or they might be pretenders.
So. I think Kirk Cousins is done. That's my opinion. Just because,
well, we'll see if he can move on that ankle.
Yeah, and Pat says he got his engineering degree too. Yeah,
I'm glad you're using it to
do whatever you're doing down there in Florida.
You're doing at Florida.
Okay. This is the Sports Porch Black and Gold. We're live right now. If you're watching us live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And of course, I'm going to drop this show in the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'm done with the Pirate this year, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts.
Bye, Pirate.
Does the Grand Schwabini have a prediction this week? It's okay if he doesn't.
Sure.
All right, here we go. The Grand Schwabini predicts.
I will predict for you.
Don't forget to rub it.
Yeah, you got to rub it out or rub the lamp.
Got to rub it out. Rub it out.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
that happens a lot.
I hate when the top comes off like that.
That's why he doesn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Schwabini.
That would mean that I would have more kids.
You think so? What were you talking about? I don't know. I
don't know what you're talking.
You're horrible.
Sure.
It's gross.
Come on, Mark.
I have been asked to make a prediction, and the Grand Schwabini will come through with a prediction in jest. The prediction pertains to how many touchdowns will Russell Wilson throw for?
Oh, yeah. Good one, Grand Schwabini.
How he comes up with these. Yep.
And the answer is 23.
Ooh, 23. And that's very interesting.
It just comes in and I just push it out.
That's what usually happens.
That is.
That's how it happens.
Yep, unfortunately.
I can't say anything other than spiritual forces.
Well, all I can say is it'll be very nice to see a quarterback throw for 2 touchdowns or more in a game.
Yeah, it'll be refreshing to see 23 touchdowns, period. Yeah, given the last couple of years.
It's been a while.
That could be really good for this team.
Yeah. Now, Pat's saying under 23 touchdowns, but, he's also a Bills fan, so he's angry. He's just angry.
Hey, Pat, give me 10-1 odds, and I'll take the over on that.
Ooh. Yeah, seriously. Okay, the Grand Schwabini predicts 23 all passing touchdowns. You're not including any rushing?
That's passing.
Okay.
There will be 1 rushing touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take the over on that.
Also,
2's easy.
Right into the head.
Okay, Stump the Yinzer. Now, here's how we do this on Stump the Yinzer. Generally, what we do is Steve or HJ is our resident Yinzer. His DNA is just filled with Pittsburghese, pierogies, and permani sandwiches.
That's true.
And as well as cow tipping and
fried squirrel.
How many times do I have to tell you I've never been cow tipping?
Scott told me you guys were cow tipping.
No,
squirrel.
He's misspoken.
Okay, fried squirrel. You eaten squirrel?
I've had squirrel before.
Yeah, fried squirrel.
There it is.
I've had squirrel before.
All right. Does it taste like chicken?
Just fry it up and call it a squirrel fritter.
It's like a combination duck chicken combination. Like if you could combine the two, that's what squirrel tastes like.
Duck and chicken?
Duck and a chicken. Like a duck and a chicken went for a swim.
Yeah, and they made a squirrel, and that's what the meat would taste like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm gonna have to think about that later.
You want me to bring you some squirrel?
No.
You hesitated.
I know. I was.
I think you should bring some squirrel.
Maybe
jerky.
Trader Joe's had some squirrel on the menu.
We don't.
I'd like to try some squirrel jerky.
That's
squirrel jerky.
I've never had squirrel jerky. I've just had squirrel meat.
Have you ever jerked a squirrel?
That would be no. Also,
okay, it's been a long day.
You might want to ask Pat about that one.
Yeah, Pat. Pat definitely has.
Pat says he's had fried squirrel at Sheets.
Oh, really?
Sheets fried squirrels. I like it.
Sheets fried squirrel.
I'm going to go look for that after the show.
Why the Sheets not? Okay, so what were we doing? Oh,
you're about to ask Mark the question.
Yeah. So we asked our resident Yinzer a question, and if we give our resident non-Yinzer a chance to answer. If the Yinzer gets it wrong and the non-Yinzer gets it right, he becomes the Yinzer. Last week, Mark answered the question.
I gifted it to Mark,
and
he
Mark is the
correctly.
Yinzer this week. So Mark, we're gonna try to stump this Yinzer, see if the real Yinzer can take the title back. Stump the Yinzer. Who is the Pens all-time? I know Steve's excited about hockey now.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the Pens all-time leader in minutes played?
Minutes played.
If you really think about it, you should know this answer. It's not. It's if you really think about it.
You have to. Here's the problem. What year are you stopping at?
Whenever this book was. This is an old book.
I know the answer.
Okay, this might help. This might help our current resident Yinzer. 2000.
2000. So up to the year 2000.
So it's not Sidney Crosby.
No,
it can't be Sidney Crosby.
And the answer is, I should have qualified that and said, and the answer is not Sidney Crosby.
Okay, I am gonna say Jaromir Jagr.
Okay,
that's a really good guess. I'm since he said that, I'm just gonna say something different.
Gee, that's the point. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Mario Lemieux.
We have no Yinzers this week. It's Tom Barrasso.
Oh,
Tommy B.
Yeah, Tom Barrasso.
Yeah, I was gonna go with the goalie, but.
Yep.
I went with a 66.
I was thinking Fleury for a minute.
Yeah, I was going to go with Fleury, but not before 2000.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I should have thought Barrasso, but he only really played with the Penguins for like 8 years.
Yeah, but he played a lot. So
well, I mean, yeah, he played. Right. You're right, 40 games.
I'm surprised Jagr didn't play more than Barrasso.
Yeah, well, if you think
once
about
again, he left too. So
and Barrasso would play the whole game.
But he played several years without Lemieux here. Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, several years. Yeah,
but their shifts are only 3 minutes, and then they might be out for 5.
They play half the game, but if you play all the so you're right.
So Barrasso,
you're right. The goalie,
unless they pull the goalie, he plays 60 minutes.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about that at all.
I was thinking about that, but
I was thinking game.
Most goalies don't play 60 games. They only play 50 games, but still that's half the game. Yeah, you're right. I should have thought about that.
Yeah, that's the whole game. Yeah, that's true. That was a kind of a trick question.
Yeah, thank you, Buffalo, for trading him to us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Started in Buffalo.
You can keep Mo Mantha.
Very much. That's great. Keep thinking about it. And you guys need the time.
It's snack time.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
It's time for that honey
sauce.
Taste that honey sauce.
Taste the goodness of the biscuit
with that honey sauce.
Don't get that
honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Okay, this is Trader Joe's snack time.
I don't think we're actually getting a snack.
You're not getting an actual snack. You are getting something from Trader Joe's, though. I want to thank Trader Joe's. They do not officially sponsor the show, but I do work there. It's a great place to get your food. Go down to the East Liberty store, see me down there, say hello. And I did get permission to do this. This week's Trader Joe's snack time, we are having sparkling watermelon juice.
Oh.
I love the reactions I get from Schwab when he's so disappointed.
And he always likes it.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to like this or not, but this happens to be one of my favorites. I'm going to take the photo down so we can actually put the product of the week. Sparkling watermelon juice. Here you go. You each have to drink the whole thing.
Of course, because I'm not drinking after him.
No, I'm not.
Not after he rubbed his lamp like that.
That's right. I'm not drinking your spittle.
Let's see. This is what we got tonight.
Yeah, this is actually just the ingredients. If you read the ingredients, it's watermelon juice, citric acid, and sparkling water. So it's literally watermelon juice. Very refreshing.
I'm not a big fan of the fizzy unless it has some alcohol in it.
Yeah,
do you have
this
some
is
vodka
good.
laying around?
This is good. Not laying around, no, but this is good for drinks. A lot of people buy these for mixed drinks.
See, if I knew this was coming, I would have brought some vodka.
I'd say it's very below average.
Oh my God.
I mean, it sort of tastes like watermelon. It sort of tastes like water. The bottom line is it doesn't taste good.
Okay, that's you.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
I love this.
There you go.
It's not too sparkly, which I hate too over carbonation.
Right.
It tastes exactly like watermelon. It's got a little sweetness to it, so you're not getting too much sweetness in it. If I had a jug of vodka, I'd be in heaven. I'd be in heaven right now.
There you go.
My feeling is if you take 2 sips, you're done.
Yet Mark will somehow find a way to drink the whole thing.
I might.
Yeah.
I might in my fork.
Okay. There you have it. Trader Joe's snack time. Sparkling watermelon
Taste
juice.
the biscuit. Taste the
Taste the
goodness
of the biscuit. You know you do.
Mhm.
Taste the
Here you go,
honey
HJ.
sauce. Taste the
Bourbon and
goodness
ginger.
Goodness of the biscuit with that honey sauce. Indeed.
Don't get that
Get that honey
honey
sauce on me.
I don't
I don't
like
like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
One
All
of these
right.
times we're just going to take off. When that
Yeah,
happens.
you
We're
just
gonna
fly away.
Fly away.
I almost felt like I almost flew away there.
Yeah.
I
you
think we
did.
could get Marta to get us to just fly away.
There you go. She probably could.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
Anyway,
probably.
I don't want to go down that. road
I'm
right
sure our fans would love it if we flew away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably right now, especially. What's next here? Well, HJ, do you have any hockey at all, or are we just gearing up for? Oh, well, we have to actually pay homage to the counselor who
We do.
joined, right?
We do, yes.
So go ahead.
So this past week, I did my first HJ. It's a not even a preseason spectacular. It had to do with Rutger McGroarty coming over from the Winnipeg Jets for Braden Yeager. It was basically a hockey trade. That's what it comes down to. The Penguins traded their number one prospect, who was a little bit more talented, for a guy who has a little bit more grit. So yeah, I think it was a good hockey trade for two guys who have really never played in the NHL yet. So I had my buddy Scott. We're going to call him the counselor. He was on, adding some great insight. So if you haven't listened to it and you're interested in what's going on with the Braden Yeager, Rutger McGroarty trade, head over to the HGA, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Of course, that's on the Sports Porch podcast on YouTube or on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. HJ talks after every single Penguins game. And now that we're getting a little closer to the season, he's starting to, I can see it. He's starting to shake like a junkie, man. He's getting ready.
We're right around the corner.
Yep. And the counselor will be joining him when the counselor is available.
Yeah, we can't put too much pressure on him. We just want him to come in whenever he's ready and refreshed.
Yeah.
Maybe when, the HJ needs to go down to the water well and, turn some water in the wine.
Right.
Those sorts of
Does
things.
he do anything? Does he have a job?
Oh, yeah.
He does?
Yeah, he consults much like you do.
Yes.
Well, I actually consult, and I work. There's a lot of consultants who don't work.
yeah.
Yeah, he does.
He
He's
does.
got two big clients.
He's
and
got some gigs.
He's
yeah.
doing okay.
Oh, okay.
He's got a law license, Mark. So
Good for him.
He's right.
Well, who's he consulting for?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not allowed to say on the
Oh,
radio, but
really?
afterwards, maybe if you want to stick around, and we'll get the counselor up, and we'll have him divulge his sources.
Okay.
I think
That's
you would like some of the people he consults with.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wear the blue.
Are they communists?
Well, it's good to know that at least somebody is on the right side of things.
He tries to bring me over to the dark side every now and then, and it works.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's crazy.
That's good.
After
You need some of that in your life.
after all these years. Okay.
I'm surrounded by lefties. What can I say?
What are we watching? This is our last segment here on the Sports Porch tonight. There's a lot of streaming services out there, and there's a lot of things to watch, a lot of things you probably shouldn't watch. We've probably watched most of those things, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Now, I don't have one. Honestly, I'm not watching anything new right now. I'm basically coming home, doing this stuff, and going to sleep.
Mhm.
So as soon as my little sojourn into whatever it is I'm doing outside of this is over, I'll start watching more TV again. Okay, what we're watching this week, we'll go with HJ first. I am going to watch this, definitely. You are watching...
I am watching Receiver on Netflix. Actually, I watched the whole thing already.
Well, that's the requirement. You
Right.
have to
That
have
is the
finished it.
requirement.
Right.
Yes.
You have to watch the whole thing. I think it was only like 8 episodes. They're all about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's much like Quarterback from last year, only they're doing receivers.
Right. I enjoyed that last year, Quarterback.
And I tell you what, if you haven't watched yet, now's the time to go back and watch it, because it also gives you a good recap on the full season.
Right.
Like, I forgot. Like, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mhm.
By the way, his family is nuts.
Yeah.
Are they?
Like, you'll
His
love
dad was like Mr. Universe.
Mr. Universe, right? And like, he started his boys lifting like as soon as they could walk. It was like,
Really?
here, put these weights on your ankles and start going like this, And they were weight bench fiends. I mean, and he's not a big guy, right? But he could probably bench 325.
His dad or Amon-Ra?
Amon-Ra.
Okay.
And it was interesting because this was the first season where he had an injury. And it was the first time he had an injury since his sophomore year in high school.
Wow.
So like they were showing the struggles, and like they both signed big contracts. Him and Justin Jefferson was the other guy. I think you guys know Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Once again, had a disappointing season, but he still like had 1,500 yards receiving, and he missed like 5 games, like ridiculous. It'll be really interesting because he had a lot of rapport with Kirk Cousins. It'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Sam Darnold.
Interesting on the Steelers connection here. I think you told me last week that you felt that it portrayed Brandon Ayuk as kind of a
agitator, is my words.
Not a great guy.
No, so Deebo Samuels and George Kittle were both featured from the 49ers. And they didn't show Ayuk too much, but when they did, and I forgot about this too, was I think week 3 when they played in Cleveland. I think Cleveland was undefeated at the time. Like he was just stirring up shit with the other team, like before the game, like just running his mouth. And of course, Debo is going to come to his defense.
Mm-hmm.
So it and he was like that. They said, well, that's what Brandon does. B just runs his mouth, and that's who he is. I'm thinking to myself, like, do I really want him on my team? Like a guy like that who just likes to cause trouble and run his mouth.
Well, the Steelers are kind of used to that.
They are,
They've
but
had guys
I'm hoping they're trying to get past that,
Right.
and I'm hoping this doesn't start to come back into Pittsburgh. Well, whatever. But this show is great because it shows the depth of the families that are involved. Like George Kittle is just really kind of a fun-loving guy, but he's kind of a hippie at the same time. Like, and his family's like that too. It's really interesting, and he's from Iowa, so you don't really get a sense for like, who he really is, other than he just likes to have fun when he plays football. But they all have these routines. Like, I was thinking about Sidney Crosby and the way he puck handles on the McDonald's sign. And like George Kittle has like a similar routine that he does on the field. And you should watch it and see what it's like. It's really kind of interesting how these guys go through their routines, but they all like get beat up. Like, you don't even realize how much force is involved with some of these hits.
They get manhandled.
Yeah.
Not even, and you're talking about on almost every play, they're making contact with somebody. It's not just catching the football.
And the two things, I'll finish with this. The two things that I forgot was how Detroit was kicking the shit out of 49ers in that championship game and lost it.
Yeah.
And in the freaking Super Bowl, like the 49ers had that game won.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Chiefs came back and tied it.
Mm-hmm.
And all the while, like literally George Kittle couldn't even move his left arm.
Really?
Like he had to go get a shot so he could come in and literally try and move his arm to catch the ball.
Wow.
And like you didn't, I don't remember that.
They didn't talk about it.
No, they just said, why is Kittle going in? It was like the fourth quarter.
Right.
And then he like, okay, I can move my arm now. And he was like, fuck it, because this is the Super Bowl and just shoot it up. I don't care what kind of damage I do to it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
And he was just like, I just wanted to be back out there with my buds. So, I forgot about that, how close those games were in the championship game and in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
So, HJ, watching Receiver on Netflix.
Go watch it.
Highly recommend it.
There's no football this week. There's no reason for you not to go and watch it.
Wish I could. All right. Schwaber, a movie.
Oppenheimer.
Nice.
Is that what he sounds like?
Starring Cillian Murphy.
That was a hybrid of something, but go ahead.
Yeah. It was not as good as I thought it was going to be. I went into it with it being really, I feel, kind of overhyped. It's kind of like one of those movies that I feel like the critic world sort of jumped on as, we can make this a special movie. We can make this Cillian Murphy's Oscar-winning performance.
And they did.
And that's exactly what they did. They drove it there, and they got there and they parked that car.
I'm sensing that you didn't really like the movie, though.
It was a weird movie. It was 3.5 hours long, and I feel like it was 3 movies in one. And the first movie was, kind of his, through his studies and his relationships. The second movie was the race to the atomic bomb first. And then the third movie was there was a member of Congress who was really out to get him and discredit him and ruin his reputation. And that was, to me, that was the best part. That was the best part of the movie. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was like an A+. But the first 2 parts of the movie, it was confusing as to who was who, and there was just the crazy thing is like I'm complaining that the movie was too long, yet at the same time wasn't long enough,
right?
Because you couldn't like characters weren't developed is what I'm getting at.
The one thing that I learned from that movie, Mark, and I'd like to get your take on this, was when they were building the bomb, how Oppenheimer really was involved with the whole creation of that town. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like, show up. He actually helped create that town, and that was a special place to him in his childhood.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. That was a little different.
Yeah, I didn't know that about him and that area. Why they ended up in near Area 51? Really?
Yeah. And so
it's one of my favorite places on the planet. Area
right.
Well, we know that. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, obviously they had to build a place where they were essentially going to test an atomic bomb. And do it in secret,
right? Until they actually did it,
right? In the middle of nowhere, So they created a town for all the people that had to work on it.
Yeah,
I thought they did a pretty good job of creating drama around the fact that they weren't sure if it was actually going to go off or not, even though we knew, right? But I thought they did a pretty good job at trying to make it like a little bit more interesting that way.
The one thing that I sort of didn't understand, though, was they obviously were not dropping an actual atomic bomb because they would have all died.
No, they did.
Did they?
It was just on a very small scale. So the amount of megatons that exploded and the amount of radiation that happened.
Yeah, so it was a smaller one.
They still had to scale it up, right?
Yeah, so it was a smaller one.
And that's why they only had 2 more, because those ones that they dropped overseas were still not very big by today's standards.
Right. So it was a little weird.
Yeah, Schwab, they tested a fake atomic bomb to prove that the real atomic bomb worked.
Well, no,
pretty much what it was.
Yeah. Well, no, but it was real.
Just Schwab.
It just didn't have as much power.
Yeah, right.
The megatons were
I'm just wondering why you even questioned.
Well, that. And even that, because it was the first time this explosion was actually going to take place. Right. They didn't know if it would actually stop.
Right.
They thought it would catch all the oxygen in the air,
burn up the whole world.
literally burn the world up.
Could you imagine?
Know that.
It's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You know, like poof. We just destroyed. Well, the war's over. Yeah.
Well, and they're doing it now with the black hole experiments over in France.
Yeah,
they're trying to create these small little black holes just to see if they're real, and they're not sure that they create one and it just sucks everything into it.
That's the equivalent of putting your hand on the hot stove. I love that.
Yeah,
let's try to create a teeny tiny black hole and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah,
they have, by the way.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
and we're still here, I think.
But I would say this. I would imagine.
I can't prove it.
I would say this though. I would imagine that any history buff would like it.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
It's been on my radar because I love Cillian Murphy.
Yep.
He does make it though,
from Peaky Blinders fame.
He was great in it.
Yeah,
and I also love Christopher Nolan. You didn't do the Peaky Blinders thing. I thought I was going to touch.
But you wanted the Peaky Blinders.
There it is.
Of course you did. All you have to do is ask.
I was waiting. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching us live, watching the Sports Porch Black and Gold all over the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And I am going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' Peaky Blinders podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
For HJ, we'll see you next week. The Grand Schwabini. I am your technical director, and I am out.
Jablonsk.
Jablonsk.
Jablonsk.